Kia ora and welcome to Business Your Way. I'm your host, Sandra Julian, a certified business coach with over 2 decades of experience in building and scaling businesses. Over that time, I've learned that there is no one-size-fits-all approach to business success. What matters is finding the approach that works for you. So this podcast is all about helping you scale your service-based business with strategies that align with your soul and your values. I want to help you drop that hustle culture and focus on more sustainable, soul-aligned growth. I invite you to join me in each episode for insights and actionable steps that will work for you. Let's make your business feel right for you in a way that truly fits with your life and the life that you want to live. Hey Megan, welcome to Business Your Way. I am so excited for our conversation today. I feel like it's been a while in the making for you and I to connect.
I agree. We've been floating around in each other's circles for a long time, but this is the first time we've actually met face to face.
Yeah. So part of me thinks that I know you, and part of me goes, you're a complete stranger,
The weird online business thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So really glad to have you here today. I would love to hand the mic to you to introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and how you make your moolah.
Sure. So my name is Megan Elliott. A lot of people might also know me as Megan Taylor, which is my former name. I make my moolah by being a conversion and connection focused copywriter, working primarily with, not even primarily, exclusively with online business owners. So people who are selling online services, digital products, online courses, anybody who's kind of in that funky little online business world, those are my people. So I do a mix of done for you copywriting services. I do consultations with people who are kind of feeling a little bit stuck on their messaging and their positioning so they can then go off and write all of their amazing copy themselves. And I am also the founder of the Copy Template Shop, which is kind of meant to be the go-to resource for anybody who wants to DIY their copy for any reason at all. And that's full of copy templates and trainings and courses and other resources.
Beautiful. And that's how I discovered you, was via your Copy Template Shop. And it was, as with most online things, it's one person talks to one person who talks to one person, and then you discover, it's very much that follow the threads, which led me to your amazing products. But before we dive into what that business model looks like, because that's what I'd like to talk about on today's episode, is this combination of service-based business combined with a digital product e-commerce component. So I'd really like to dive into that to really give service providers this different perspective on how we can package our products and offer our products in a more leveraged way. But before we get into all of that, I'm really intrigued as to how you got here. So have you always been in business, or what were you doing before you started your business that then led you on this wild journey of entrepreneurship?
Wild journey is right. I think all entrepreneurships are a fairly wild journey. So I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I started my business when I was, oh my gosh, okay, this was 2016 is when I first initially started freelancing as a part-time entrepreneur. So I would have been 22 at the time. The short version of the story is I was a master's student in Scotland. I'm originally from Canada, but I did my master's degree in Scotland. It was the summer period. I was working on my master's dissertation. My student visa was expiring soon. My student loans were drying up. I was applying for every single job that I could possibly find in my field. And because I was an immigrant, not a lot of people wanted to take a chance on me. There's all these visa regulations and all of these kinds of things. I did eventually end up finding a job and stayed in Scotland and worked full-time there for a little while before going full-time in my business. But in the meantime, while I was in this panic of what am I going to do before my student loans dry up, I learned about Upwork, which is a freelance platform, and I kind of hopped on there and started freelancing, doing every which thing. Literally everything from transcription. So you can imagine like 2016, the little nice AI bots that we have that like translate all of our podcast episodes and stuff didn't really exist back then. So a lot of transcription was done manually. I was doing a lot of that. I was writing blog posts and kind of dabbling into content writing, I would say, not so much copywriting at the time. But my background is in public relations and communications. So writing was always just like a very natural fit for me. And it kind of grew from there. As they say, the rest is history. I had some really wonderful clients who took chances on me. A really wonderful client who I have worked with for, almost 7 years now, I want to say. I think we've been together 7 years now this year. A retainer copywriting client who kind of took me on when I was still learning the ropes of like conversion copywriting and sales copywriting, which was a little bit different than like my PR and communications background. She gave me access to like copy hackers courses and had another copy mentor on her team. And I got to learn a lot from that and just kind of kept going and expanding from there.
Beautiful. So started off as a freelancer. What does that look like now? Like how has your business morphed over the years? Because I know we say kind of freelancers, they're just dabbling in other people's business. And there seems to be this transition between freelancer into like business owner business model.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's very much like a mindset shift that happens. Or I don't know what happens first. It's like a chicken or an egg situation. I'm not sure if it's the mindset stuff or you actually step into that role with some of your clients and then the mindset stuff follows it. But it's very much a journey of deciding, okay, I'm no longer just like a tactical freelancer who's coming in and doing things that I'm being told to do and kind of owning your expertise. And I think that that's kind of how that transition happened is like as I started honing my skills and got better and felt more confident as a copywriter, I would attract more and more clients who saw that in me as well. So I'm very fortunate that my business literally from day one has grown, I would say 98% through referrals, the service side of my business. And so just doing great work for great people who would then recommend me to their network. I would kind of come on and do that. So I had like several retainer clients at one period. Now I'm down to 2, which is a very intentional thing for me. I really like being able to pop in now and do like projects. But again, like 4 clients who kind of recognize that expertise and the fact that I've spent almost a decade like honing my craft.
I love that you said that that's more of a mindset shift between just, popping in and doing as you're told, whereas now owning your expertise. Like that's definitely a mindset shift. Did you realize that at the time that it was intentional about the mindset shift, or do you think that was just part of your natural growth and evolution?
I think I must have recognized it, but not in a happy way.
Yeah.
More in a way of I was coming up against my own boundaries time and time again without actually realizing that that's what was happening. So I think when you were starting to come up against clients who are like micromanaging a little bit, or you know the difference, you feel the difference when you're working with a client who is like, I feel like I know better than you, and you are just somebody that I'm hiring to do the work that I don't particularly want to do, versus the people who are hiring you because they see that you are good at what you do and they trust you. And so I think as I was coming up against those situations and learning how to identify, set, and communicate my own boundaries, and just learning to be a more confident human being. I was also in my early 20s at the time, as I get a little bit older, just the personal mindset shifts that are happening. Yeah, I think it was happening. I think there was an awareness, but it wasn't like, oh, this is mindset stuff happening. It was more like there's a lot of growth, but like very uncomfortable growth happening.
Yeah. I too went through that stage of realizing, I don't really like working for you. But you have to sit down and go, well, why is that? Why are you annoying me so much that I'm frustrated or that I'm walking away just wanting to tear my hair out? And then when you sit down and think through what are those pieces that are really ticking you off. And then you realize it's because it's not that they don't trust, but they're not allowing you to flourish in what you do the best. And then you realize, okay, you are not the client for me. And you start really owning your expertise. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of a two-way street. Like a lot of these times, these clients are literally just picking up what we're putting down, right? So maybe when we first started working with this client, we were a little bit more comfortable in a role of them telling us what to do. And then we've kind of just like outgrown the relationship and outgrown that part of our business or that aspect of our business. And we've just kind of forgotten to communicate it. And sometimes the way the relationship is, you can't communicate it. And, it's just, you have that mind, like how you're always going to be a little kid in somebody's eye, like in your mom and your grandparents, like they're always going to look at you like this little kid. There's some clients who are always going to look at you that way, and you can't grow that relationship, but sometimes you can, and sometimes you can't.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. So then moving into digital products. So going from service provider, realizing that, okay, I now own my expertise. I'm now choosing the clients that I want to work with. And that's like, I love that moment in business when you realize that. I think that's you mature as that business owner. So you've stepped into that space. Where did digital products then enter the picture for your business model?
It took me a long time. It took me about 4 years. So the Copy Template Shop was founded officially in 2020. And I think it was similar, like that similar mindset shift, the same kind of growth that had to happen for me to realize, okay, like I am actually very good at what I do. I can charge premium rates. I can be in control of the projects. I was also a part of me that took a step back and realized I had a lot of clients at the time who were running other type of template shops, like legal contracts, Canva templates, those kinds of things. And I was looking at the work that I was doing for them. I was looking at everything that I was learning and everything that I was bringing to the table and saying to myself, like, I am writing copy for these clients that's bringing in, like, we were having 6-figure sales, Black Friday sales on the back of copy that I had written. And I was like kind of shaking myself a little bit. Why am I doing this for other people and not doing it for myself? And I think a lot of really good service providers almost fall into that trap a little bit of like giving all of your best stuff to other people. And that's such an awesome thing to do. And you can make really great money doing that. And I think being a service provider is amazing. But, are you putting any of that focus into your own business? Are you applying those skills to your own business as well? So that's kind of where it was for me. I was like, okay, let's give it a try. Let's give it a go. And one of those clients gave me a really great opportunity as part of, I think it was one of her Black Friday sales. She was like, hey, like, why don't you create a product for Black Friday? And I will kind of like promote it to my audience as part of my promotions. We kind of worked out like a little bit of a affiliate type deal. And that was kind of the permission slip that I needed. And then I got hooked, and it was a really great experience, and I wanted to keep doing it.
Beautiful. How did you decide what was that first product, of all the copy that you were writing? And I think sometimes that's where we get stuck as business owners, is it's the overwhelm of possibility, because we could make so many different choices. It could be this one, or it could be that one. Or how did you get to decide what was that first digital product that you would dip your toes in with?
I think it's really important as service providers specifically to look at the things that are quite easy for you and that you are doing over and over and over again to the point where you've kind of developed a process for it, maybe even without realizing it. That is where your first product usually is, especially if it's something that people come to you for a lot or people tend to struggle with. So for me at the time, it was 2020. Instagram looked very different than it does right now. Like reels weren't a thing. I think IGTV was like just on the scene. It was just so different. Like visually, everything was really, really different. So my first product ended up being kind of like I have caption prompts still in the shop, but it was kind of like a caption toolkit. And it had like different like caption types of hooks that you could use that very first line. different like prompts and stuff for what to say in your captions. It had like a little content calendar and stuff like that. I was still doing quite a bit of content work, and it's something that people were struggling with. And like, what do I even say? What do I post on Instagram? And so, yeah, without realizing it, in order to be able to, like, I was pumping out sometimes hundreds of Instagram captions for my clients every single week. When you're doing something at that capacity, you must have some sort of process. So it's just a matter of like taking a step back and figuring out, okay, what am I doing here? You probably already have something templated in your business that you can just take a closer look at it and package it up and sell it to somebody.
And then that whole process of how do I sell an e-commerce? Because when we sell a service, you're like, okay, this is what I do. This is what you want. Great. Here's my contract. Awesome. Here's my invoice. They pay to your bank account. Like, we're good. But then when you get into digital products, now we've got to think about what does the shop front look like, where people can buy it from, how do they pay for it? How is that transacted? Tell me about that journey.
I started so simple. I literally, I did have a very unfair advantage that I was working for a lot of digital product creators. So even though I was just the copywriter, I was doing a lot more behind the scenes, and I saw a lot about their tech stack, how things were working. And so I kind of had a clear picture of like, okay, what steps need to happen. And then I said, like, what is the simplest way for me to deliver this? For me at the time, like, so that product had like a few different moving pieces. Most of them existed like within a Google Doc. And so it was just a matter of popping into Canva, creating a pretty branded PDF, one page that had links to all the moving pieces. So any videos that they needed to watch had a direct link to that. Any Google Docs that they needed access to had a direct link to that. And that was the thing that was delivered. So when they bought this PDF with all of the links in it. I didn't have like a course platform or anything like that. Like, I think the videos were probably hosted on YouTube, which I'm not even 100% sure is within YouTube's terms, but I was doing it. And I went with WooCommerce because WooCommerce was free. I knew how to make WordPress work. My website was built on WordPress. And yeah, WooCommerce was free. So I said, okay, I'm not going to invest too much money into this until I know people want it and I know that this is something I want to do. And I actually still use WooCommerce for like 80% of my products to this day, and it's still free.
Amazing. So yes, start simple. That's the key, right? Start simple, prove the product. When was the point that you kind of made that decision to go, all right, this is working. There is a demand for it. I can level up my tech stack, or take that next leap into an online platform or a gated scenario with the technology? Where was that point in the journey?
I don't know if there was like a single aha moment. I know that I ended up taking that initial product, and then instead of like creating another one and then another one and then another one, I actually like jumped from that one product to a bundle of 5 products and sold all of them all at once on like a live webinar, my first webinar ever. So I literally went from like the simplest way possible to like the biggest thing possible at the time. I think it was just a matter of knowing my numbers and being okay with the service side of my business, bootstrapping the digital product side of my business for a little while. I don't think I broke it down and looked at like, oh, the templates are making this much money, so now I'm going to invest in a course platform just for the templates. I think even to this day, even though the Copy Template Shop is very successful, the service side of my business makes significantly more money, and my profit margins are way higher. So if I looked at it and really looked at it, I would say that it probably is still to a certain extent bootstrap. There's so much overlap in my business that it's hard to tell. Yeah, there wasn't like a clear, logical financial decision. It was more like, okay, the business has this much extra money right now. Where does it make sense for me to pour a little bit extra into this side of things so that I can grow it?
Beautiful. And are you finding that now you've invested that money into a platform where most things are automated now, that you don't need to spend as much time on producing and looking after that digital product shop, and you can now focus on delivering services?
I think so. I think my biggest problem is I always want to create more, more solutions. But it does kind of like stand on its own. I will say, like, passive income, like digital products and passive income are not, in fact, as passive as the online business industry wants us to believe, and like that vision that it sold us. And like, I have so many things that are automated, all of the deliveries automated, all of like the purchase, like literally from purchase to completion, all of that kind of stuff is completely hands off for me. My website just exists. It's there. Somebody can go and buy something. There's still a lot of customer service that has to happen. So it got to the point last year where I brought on somebody to answer those customer service questions for me. That is something I suppose you could automate now, especially with AI, but it's not something I ever wanted to do. I still want there to be a human touch, even if it's not me responding to every single email. And the marketing aspect of it is still very, very hands-on. I basically have to treat the copy template shop as a client because there's still marketing that needs to happen. There's sales efforts that need to happen. I feel like I'm getting a bit rambly and maybe not answering your question, but like, it is at the point where when I want to focus more on my services, I can, and the shop is still very self-sufficient, but there are seasons where I will go back and forth between the two.
I mean, that was really good insight, because I agree there's this train of thought, and I think it's because it's being sold to us that digital products are a passive form of income. And really what we're doing with digital products is we're automating the repetitive sales. So we're creating a product that, is essentially a shampoo bottle, that you'll go to the shop, buy it, use it, come back for more. But the automations that we've put into place for that purchase and delivery, it can be hands off. But the other aspects of marketing, promoting, looking after our customers is still very much time investment. So I'm glad that you raised that.
Absolutely.
I had a whole lot of things written down that I really wanted to jump to. And maybe we go down this track of, clients coming in the door. So clients could potentially come in the door as a service client and purchase digital products, or they could come in and purchase a digital product and then decide, no, actually, I want Megan to do it for me. What's that combination like in your business at the moment? Or what was it like when you first put the two things into your business model before you decided that you would limit your service clients?
I think, again, there's a big conversation out there about like offer ladders, right? So there's this idea that, oh, you're going to put these low ticket offers out there. People are going to buy them. Then they're going to buy your mid ticket offers. And eventually they're going to warm up to you to the point where maybe they want to hire you for like your higher ticket services. That does happen sometimes, but I would say that it's the exception rather than the rule. And I think that's also a big mindset shift that had to happen for me as the shop got bigger and more popular. I realized that the people who tend to buy my templates are very different buyers with very different needs than the people who are going to purchase my services. And it's not even necessarily a matter of growth, because I think where this offer ladder idea and concept comes from, in that product to service offer ladder specifically, we think that, as people have more money, they're going to want to hire out services instead of doing it themselves. It's not always the case. I think it depends on what it is that you're selling. I think the people who like to write their own copy are going to like to write their own copy no matter how much money they're making. So the people who tend to hire me for my services are those people who are like, I don't want to write any more copy. I've written enough copy in my life. Like, please don't make me write another sales page. And they're happy to just come and spend the thousands and outsource it to me. So yeah, like, it's not so much, I don't think it ever was really like, people coming to me for one thing and then eventually coming for the other. I do have some overlap. Like, I have consulting clients right now who work very closely with me, like on Voxer, and I do copy editing and stuff like that for them, who still go and buy my templates. I have neither of my retainer clients, I think, have ever bought a template from me. So yeah, there is overlap, but like probably not as much as I expected when I first started creating those digital products.
That is really interesting to know, because I think that would be like a common thought that I would have anyway is, okay, let me, head out with a digital product and that will serve them while they're maybe bootstrapping something, or they just want to know or have a template to do something. But a little bit further along the track, they could potentially then hop over and, buy some services when maybe they've got a little bit more cash in their business, or they're a bit more time strapped, and that's one of the things they want to offload. So I think that would definitely be like a common thought in a service provider's mind.
Yeah. And I think it does happen. I think there are probably people who are using my templates and just like waiting for the day where they no longer have to use the templates and can outsource it, whether it's to me or to somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a lot rarer than you expect. Again, it's very dependent on what it is that you sell, and probably also in how you position the products that you sell. Like I very much position the products in the shop as like, oh, this is your DIY solution. Like this is for you if you don't have the budget, if you don't have the time to wait for a copywriter schedule, if it's really important for you to learn copywriting, because it's a very important skill to have as an online business owner. But I think if you positioned your product as like, oh, you can't afford to hire me right now, like buy this thing instead and let it tie you over until you can afford to hire me, then maybe you would have a little bit more of a pipeline going.
Comes down to messaging.
Yeah, exactly. And copy.
Message and copy. What does your business look like now in terms of the balance between how much time you spend in your copy shop and adding products to it and growing it versus the time that you are spending on your retainer clients or delivering services?
The balance is very much a fluctuating balance. Like it's not, I think we picture balance and it's like it's a scale where everything is even. My balance, I don't know what it looks like, but it's definitely not like that. It happens for me in seasons. So I'm like working through an idea right now for like what I want my next big product to be, and recognizing that, okay, I'm also in a season of business where my clients are doing really big things and they're relying on me a little bit extra than maybe they would in like a slower season. So I'm going to have a lot less time to put into this idea. So it's always, for me, I think because I started as a service provider, my clients always come first. And so that's always the first thing I'm thinking about is how much do my clients need me right now? And how much time does that leave me with in order to pour into my digital products? That wasn't always the case. There was definitely a season where I had to be like, okay, if I really want this to be a thing, I need to find ways to prioritize the digital products. Maybe that's working on weekends. Maybe it's starting my workday a little bit earlier. Maybe it's like working well into the night a little bit, which is great. If you're like me, you get hyper fixated on things that you're creating. But yeah, it comes and it goes. And so this product, like it will get to a point where if I want to bring it to life, I'm then going to have to prioritize myself and that offer the way that I would a client. So I will literally treat it the same way I will a client, where I'll block out a certain number of hours every single day for a certain number of weeks in order to make sure that that project happens. Yeah. So I think don't put too much pressure on yourself to find that balance either, because that balance will ebb and flow and it will be in flux. And if you're in a season right now where you have to work harder in order to get products off the ground, it won't always be that way.
I know earlier you said that you currently only have 2 retainer clients.
Yeah.
So was that like the conscious decision of, rather than just allowing these seasons to flow in and flow out and maybe only working on a digital product e-commerce side of the business when there's time, versus allocating time?
Yeah.
Where was that? Did you go through that piece of like, I'm just doing it on the side versus now I'm intentionally only giving 2 days to services and this amount of time to actually focus on the digital products? And that will ebb and flow in seasons, but I get a sense that there has been a a decision around the amount of time spent on services?
Yeah, I'll say that right now it's intentional, but it wasn't always intentional. So I used to have a lot more retainer clients, and services like were a much bigger part of my business. I was doing a lot of VIP days, all of that kind of stuff around the same time that I was starting to grow the copy template shop. And then in 2021, in the fall of 2021, I hit a pretty, I'd say a mild burnout, but I was staring down like a very deep extreme burnout. I knew that if something didn't change in the way I was running my business, it wouldn't keep working and it wouldn't be good for me. So what I ended up doing is I planned to take a 1 month sabbatical from my business to just like completely step away, travel a little bit, and just kind of reconnect with what the vision was and where I was going forward. So I told all of my clients and I took this month off. And when I came back from that month, that I had those realizations, right? And that's kind of maybe where the intentionality came in, but I was almost forced into that intentionality of I can't sustain this amount anymore. I either need to stop doing VIP days or stop doing so much on the shop, or I need to let go of some retainer clients. There's something needs to give. And that's when I ended up letting go of all but one retainer client so that I had the time. And there was a bunch of stuff going on in my personal life. And I wanted to have the time and the energy and the mental capacity to deal with all of that. So it was an intentional decision to scale back mostly for my personal life, I would say at that stage. And then when I came out of that season and my personal life somehow I had my stuff together again, then it was a very intentional decision of, okay, I'm not going to take on any more clients. I'm going to use this extra time to pour into the digital products again. And then I only took on my second retainer client again. It was, I think, I'm going to say January of last year. So there was a very long time where I just had that one dependable source of income. And I made sure that I was charging enough for that I could pay my bills and I could sustain myself as a service provider if I had to just only do that and the digital product side didn't work out. Yeah. And then just like slowly, now I'm in a season where like I have those retainer clients, but I have like ongoing consulting clients. So the digital products are taking a step back again, but it won't always be that way. And just recognizing when that ebb and flow needs to happen.
I'm glad you brought up the financial piece, because I think that can be where we end up in that constant hustle mode too, because we are needing the income to sustain our personal lives and just live while we're trying to make headway into the vision that we have for the business. So I'm glad that you brought that up. With the financial piece, did you have to increase your prices, or did you think about your products, packaging them differently in order to get to a minimum financial space where that was what you needed to live comfortably while still having time and energy to put into your vision?
Yeah, it was a little bit of both. So it was both increasing my rates and repackaging. So I would say offering VIP days starting in about 2020, it was I would say it's probably the second biggest mindset shift that happened for me outside of just transferring from like freelancer to business owner, contractor, copywriter for hire, was realizing, okay, when I started offering VIP days, I don't want to say my perception of my worth, because I hate the expression, charge your worth. I think your worth is so much more than just what you charge. But I think maybe the worth of the value that I could provide for my clients in a certain container of time. It was like that. I had to take a step back and realize, I'm good enough at the work that I do now that me spending an extra 5 hours on this project is not actually beneficial for anybody. It's less about the amount of time that I spend and more about setting the right kind of environment, including the right kind of contract and like container with the client in order to make myself succeed, right? Like if you could, within the VIP day container, my creativity really thrived. Like I knew that the client was basically taking a step back and saying, okay, you have this day to work your magic and do and create. And it didn't have anything to do with the amount of time I was spending. It was just having that one focused day to spend on it. So it was really a mindset shift for me. And I used that when I came back from my break in the conversation with the one client that I decided to retain. I don't think I even needed to come to them with a conversation of like, oh, it's not about how many hours I spend on your business, yada, yada, yada. It was more just like that was already in me and allowed me to have that confidence going into that conversation. So we changed the agreement to bring the prices up higher to the equivalent of what I was charging for a VIP day. So that was the price increase. But also the way that we worked, I no longer worked on an hourly service from that point forward. And it was more like, okay, this is the flat fee. These are the type of things that I work on for you every single month. No matter if it takes me 5 hours a month or 40 hours a month, this is the rate that I'm going to be paid to do that work for your business every single month. And we've been on that agreement ever since.
Nice. And what would you say your hours have averaged out at? Because I think that would be the other fear of service providers, especially those that are currently on an hourly rate and ideally need to be moved over to a value pricing model where they can package up and put a price on it, but it's not equivalent to the hours that are worked in it. It's equivalent to the results that you're able to provide. So thinking about that and overcoming that fear of, is this enough? Because what if it only takes me 4 hours? Great, I'm winning. But what if it takes me 40 hours? Oh, gosh, I'm losing big time. How did you overcome that, and how was that averaged out for you?
I think it's not necessarily something you can jump into right away because if you come into this kind of container with a brand new client, you're not accounting for the fact that you have to get up to speed on their business, on their tech stack, depending on what kind of work you're doing, all of these kinds of things. And you don't have a good goalpost to measure it against. Whereas this client, we had already worked together for several years. I already knew, okay, on a monthly basis, like this is around the amount of work that I do. And I didn't translate that into the number of hours. Instead, it was like, okay, on average, I do, let's say, one launch a month for you, which is one sales page and a series of launch emails. Normally, that would be 2 VIP days. This is what I would charge for a VIP day. And so it's like two VIP days packaged together with a slight discount because it's a retainer. That said, the other retainer contract that I'm on right now, I did jump into a package like that right away, which is flat fee for all of her copywriting needs. And in our contract, it does say it's not based on hours. It's not based on deliverables, but the copywriter can expect to do anywhere between, I want to say it's like 3 to 5 hours a week. But then sometimes there will be launch periods where she will be doing more. So it's written into the contract. So I would say for anybody who's facing that fear, test it out. You're smart. You know how long it takes you to do things. Give yourself a little bit of extra wiggle room on top of that because sometimes life is going to life and you're not going to be able to do it. Yeah. And then make sure it's in the contract and set those boundaries, have them in writing. And when you notice that those boundaries are being pushed, identify, is it the client who is pushing the boundaries? And is that a conversation that needs to be had? Or am I not respecting my own boundaries? And does something need to be reworked in my process to make sure that I'm fulfilling what I said I was going to fulfill?
That is so true. And I think it's the same. I definitely experienced that. Most of my clients over the years have all been project-based work. So events, we come in, we deliver the event, we leave. But the biggest is scope creep, so the client comes in and goes, this is what I need. So the contract goes, these are the deliverables. And then as that, the journey happens through that time period and the event evolves as you go, then all of a sudden the client's like, and we need this, and we need this, and we need this. And I think it's your responsibility as the business owner to identify that it's out of scope or it's outside the boundary of that contract that you've agreed to. And it's okay to raise the conversation and go, okay, that's out of scope. So, we'll need to talk about whether you want to take that on or whether that's something you want to add to our contract, and I'll come back to you with a price. So, I'm glad you brought up that boundaries piece, because I think that is really prevalent in most service providers, whether it's a retainer client or whether it's project work and it's a scope of deliverables or like whatever that is. Very, very common.
Very. And I always find that the best way to approach that is to almost gentle parent the scope creep. I don't know if you watch like gentle parenting videos on Instagram, but like one of the common things that they will do is instead of just telling the child what they need to do, offering the child a choice. So doing the same thing with scope creep, it's like when you see that the client is coming in and doing it, almost gentle parenting the client and being like, okay, this is not what's happening right now, but you have this option A or you have option B. Option A is like, we don't do this or we scale it back. Option B is you pay me this much more money and I'll do whatever you want. And they still feel empowered. It's a less awkward conversation. You've given them options to path moving forward. Yeah, it just takes a lot of the awkwardness and the ick out of it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Options. I love options. Always no more than two in my experience.
Yeah.
We could do this or we could do that.
Exactly.
Not we could do all of this.
Yeah.
I really want to dive a little bit into marketing because referrals, you just talked about 98% of your service-based business coming from referrals when you very first started out. I expect the template shop is a little bit different. So, starting a business where there was no need to market because referrals was keeping you alive and well versus a template shop, which now requires a bigger reach in order to get an increased sale, which is your e-commerce model, right? How have you navigated that, from probably still not even needing to market your services to having to now market an e-commerce shop?
It's definitely another mindset shift that needs to happen. Yeah, I think that a lot of people, again, when you've been sold the passive income dream, you don't quite even though it's math, it's very simple math. In order to sell enough $27 product to match your $2,700 service, like it adds up. You need a lot. It's a numbers game. Digital product sales is a numbers game. So yeah, there's a lot of marketing that needs to happen. I'm very lucky that like a lot of my educational and then, professional background was in marketing. So I knew what my options were. I've tried a lot of things. I tried social media. I did social media for a long time. And then I just, when I had that burnout, one of the things that I did was I just stopped posting on social media and I've never kind of come back. I had a podcast up until I took that sabbatical. And then the podcast just never came back. I've blogged here and there. Again, I think it always depends on the season. Like I'm going into a season in my life soon where I am going to have to up the ante on my passive income sales again. So like I will have to be a bit more out there with my visibility efforts. But right now, in order for the copy template shop to coast and just kind of pay for itself and bring in a little bit of extra like fun money and bonus money into the business, it's mostly email marketing. So just making sure I'm nurturing my list. I email my list once a week. I have automated funnels and sequences and nurture sequences and all that fun stuff set up. And then I'll do a lot of bundles and summits to get new people onto my email list. Sometimes I'll dabble in Facebook ads. I had them on for about a 6 or 7 month period last year and only just recently turned them off until I figure out what I'm doing with my automated emails again. But yeah, like it's also an ebb and flow thing. It's probably like, this is kind of like this is what I do, not necessarily what I recommend. But yeah, I've tried lots of different things. There are things that work for my audience and for me personally and how I like to show up in market. Having worked with other template shops and a lot of other digital product sellers in the past, there's things that they do extremely well. Like they sell a lot of digital products on Instagram. And it's just never something that really worked for me, probably because my energy wasn't in it. So I think just being willing to experiment with what works, what doesn't, but then also knowing, like when you're experimenting, knowing what your goalposts are, like what results are going to make you want to continue with that marketing stream versus what's going to you want to consider something else.
That's good advice. It's like what marketing activities fit with you, how you want to be in the world, the energy that you want to show up in, and or expend in doing it. If it's always draining, like I find social media just extraordinarily draining, and so it's not something that I want to do. Like that's not a marketing avenue that I want to take. So I spend a lot of time repurposing and pushing it out to socials, but I very rarely like show up because it's just way too draining. So I'm glad you kind of put that in perspective of like find the marketing activities that fit for what you do and who you are and the energy that you want to bring to it. So I love that. Megan, I've got so many more questions that I want to ask you. But if we were to kind of bring this in and, look to wrap up, thinking about a tech stack for a service-based business and a digital, e-commerce, because essentially two business models in one, how have you brought that tech stack together so you're not paying thousands of dollars for some tools and maybe you're able to cross-purpose them across both type of products?
Yeah, I mean, I have brought a lot of things together. So like I did work with a CRM for a really long time. I had Dipsato, and that is where I ran my service-based business, like with all of the workflows, my contracts and everything lived in there. Loved Dipsato. Would still very much recommend it for service providers. But it did get to a point where, I was like paying for all of these tools for the product side of my business that I could probably just repurpose and make work for the service. So that's kind of where it went, was like they were very separate. And then I was like, how can I bring them together? So for example, now if I'm selling like a VIP day or a consult or something like that, they're going through Thrivecart, which is the same checkout software that I use. I said, I think at the beginning that like 80% of the shop is still on WooCommerce. The other 20% is Thrivecart. And that was a one-time fee. I paid for it. So I think Thrivecart is very underutilized by service providers. If you have a productized service, it's not going to work if you're sending a lot of like custom proposals. It could still work. You can have as many products in there as you want. But yeah, like for me, it's very productized. My consultations are a certain cost. My copy reviews are a certain cost. My VIP days, like everything is the same. And then tying that in with like Zapier, which again, I was already paying for product delivery. And then just Google everything. Google Drive, Google Sheets, Google Gmail, Google Workspace, Google. I even have a Google phone. Literally, my life revolves around Google. So yeah, just like weaving all of that in. And yeah, I feel like those are the only things that are working in tandem. I think good, like Google now, you can send contracts through Google if you have a paid workspace account. So that's what I do, is their built-in e-signature feature. Thrivecart will have, like for my product type, like my consultations, I don't even have them sign a contract. It instead has like terms of service that are built into the checkout page. Yeah, lots of overlap.
Yeah. Love that when you can move to a productized service where you have packaged all of your services and that's how people buy. So you're not doing the custom proposals or anything like that. You've got to a point where you're like, this is package A, this is package B, and this is package C. Which one would you like? Which one serves you right now? Inside of those things, we could probably do a little bit of tweaking on the deliverables, but this is how you get to work with me, and then it's just a go over here to the checkout. So I love that your business has moved along this journey of that freelancer evolving to owning your expertise, and now like packaging up so it's really clear about the value within the package that they're getting from you. So that's a beautiful journey to see that evolution. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's definitely a privilege to be able to just like, it comes from when you're finally in that place of like, oh, well, if you want to work with me, if you want to hire me to be your copywriter, these are the ways that you work with me, instead of being like, oh, I'll write your copy for you. It's a journey. And I do feel very privileged to be at that point in my business journey where I am very much in control of how people work with me. And as long as I continue to attract people who vibe with that, then we're good.
Yeah. That's the key, right? Is we need to attract people that vibe with how we want to run and operate and offer services into the world. I think that's the key piece.
Yeah. And you'll always find people who vibe with it. No matter how you want to structure your business, there's going to be people out there who are okay with it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right. There is always 3 questions that I like to ask my guests, especially when it comes to service-based businesses. So what are 3 things that you would want to share with other service-based business owners who are growing their business?
I wrote these down. So keeping you reading, that's why, because I was like, I know this is an important one. I want to get it right. I'd say the first is on boundaries. Learn not just how to set boundaries, but also how to communicate them and enforce them. For a very long time, I was setting boundaries and failing to communicate them with the people who needed to know what my boundaries were, especially my clients. And it was causing rifts, and that was on me, and it was not on them, and the resentment was misplaced. So learn how to communicate your boundaries. Charging your worth, this idea of charging your worth is complete BS advice. Your worth is in no way, shape, or form tied to the amount that you charge. Instead, do the math. Figure out how much you want to pay yourself, reverse engineer after taxes, expenses, and availability. That is how much you want to charge, and it has nothing to do with your worth. And my third one was to treat your business like a client. So any good service provider is probably pouring their heart and soul and energy into their clients. If you want to grow your business and be really intentional about it, set aside the time and the intention that you do for your clients the same way you would for your business. Just like treat them the exact same way. If you need to, create their own Asana board and all the fancy things that you do for your clients, do it for yourself too.
That is the best piece of advice, because that's how we get out of moving away from working in our business to working on our business, is we actually have to treat our own business in the same way that we treat our clients.
Totally.
I love that. And, on that note, that was the piece that, I learned probably in the last 5 years when I was really rethinking my energy and time in the service business and spending less time in it and more time on it and getting that balance shifted, was that when I put time in my calendar for working on my business, it was not negotiable. It was not movable. It was like I had a external meeting with a client. So that took a lot of change in my mindset in order to say to an actual client, I'm busy, that's not available.
Yeah.
Where I would usually go, sure, I'll just move that, I'll pop you in there and we're good.
Especially when you're not being paid for it, right? I think a lot of people are scared to do that because it's like, well, I'm losing out on money if I'm doing it and you have to change your mindset. You're not losing out on money. The money's just going to take a little bit longer to come. You're not going to get paid an invoice and then sit down and do the work, but it is going to pay off in the long run. You just have to wait.
Yeah, such good advice. Megan, thank you so much for today. That was a lot that we talked about, and your business journey is truly inspiring.
Thank you.
So, I hope that there are lots of service-based businesses who got pages and pages of takeaway from our conversation today. So I really appreciate you. Appreciate the openness, the sharing of the journey, the challenges along the way, and the rewards that have come with it to get to where you are now in business. It's so amazing.
I appreciate it.
So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Just before you go, I wanted to say thanks for spending some time with me today. If today's episode was helpful, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. And if you know another business owner who could use the advice from this episode, please send this their way. Sharing is the best way to help more service-based business owners grow sustainably. I'd also love if you could leave a quick rating and review of the show. It helps more people find the podcast, and I would truly appreciate your support. You'll find all of the links in the show notes, including buttons to make it easy for you to share. Catch you next time on Business Your Way.